It's a mess.
My son lived just outside of D.C. for a while, and it's like,
Do you know what I went through?
yeah. But,
Yeah. We were across the duck. Yeah. Really? Really?
You have to go back to work?
Are we good?
I sure the heck.
Lucky you.
I call the Norton City Regular Council meeting for Monday, July 1st, 2019 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated, please. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Gaynor?
Here.
Mr. McClone?
Here.
Mr. Carrot?
Here.
Mr. Towsley?
Here.
Ms. Whipke?
Here.
Mr. Pelot?
Here.
Mr. Kernan?
Here. Communications from the public, Mr. Jim Lino.
Jim Lino, 5058 Grove Avenue in Norton. I want to make a little bit of comment. There was two people showed up here last week promoting a great deal for property owners to improve their homes or do something, but we never had a chance to question what it was about. But anyhow, I thought the program sounded good when they started, but I'm not too sure about paying that interest on a loan, because I didn't hear just how much interest they was going to charge. And if this is going to go on, say, for 10 years, is this one interest charge going to be it? Or are they going to put one on every year, another interest rate? So I was a little bit skeptical of that. I'm a little bit leery, because anytime somebody's offering you something with your left hand, I like to see what the right hand's doing. But anyhow, I couldn't figure out, if it's such a great deal, why are we paying interest? We might as well just go to the bank. You know, there's always, if there's a dollar bill laying out there, somebody's going to figure out how to get it. And I was the most surprised person in the world when I seen in a paper that they were actually taxing farmers for the rainwater running off the roofs of the barns. They should be paying the farmer, because every inch of ground, got 300 acres in Medina going to the things. We buy Metro Parks, we're going to turn into it. And then when the people from the city stand around knee deep in the water, where did all this water come from? So I was just a little bit skeptical on this loan business, because if it's a loan, if they want to help me, fine. But you always remember, you don't own your property, you're paying rent. And if you do anything to improve or make your place look nicer, Mr. Taxman's going to come out there and up your rent. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Lino, I believe they said 2.8 to 2.9 to 8% interest, depending on it. 2.8 or 9% up to 8%, depending on how long the loan is.
that's, and when it goes for 10 years or so,
The higher one kicks in.
And that's every year.
that's what I'm worried about. So in other words, if you say you borrow $1,000 and the interest is maybe 5%, they charge you that 5% now, and that's what it's going to be. That maybe $50 interest. That's it at the end of 10 years, with no increase to that $50. But if they're going to compound it, you know, and that's what I'm kind of a little bit leery about, going that long with interest rates. I don't know.
I think it's like any other loan. I mean, let's say you have to make a repair to the house, and you have the option. You go to the bank and take out a home equity loan, or you can put it on your credit card. This is just another option. And so if it doesn't work for you, no one says you have to do it.
Yeah.
I think it just gives people another option.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
Poss-
okay.
yep.
Possibly better interest than a credit card, for example.
Yeah.
So,
No, okay.
and it's fixed too throughout the life of the loan.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Committee of the Whole, reports from standing committees, letter A. Ms. Whipke?
Thank you, Mr. President. As I think everybody knows, we've had another road failure out on 585 Worcester Road, and we're having to do some emergency work there due to the sinkholes appearing. We need to get this addressed as soon as possible due to the fact that it is a main thoroughway that affects not only us, but Barberton, Doylestown, residents, businesses alike, and as I understand it, there's around 12,000 vehicles that travel that daily. So we really need to do that, and we're looking at $97,053 to fix that, and that includes a 10% contingency fee on that, and it was much, much lower than the other proposals that we had to come in. Anything you'd like to add, Ms. Fowler?
So while they're not technically bids, because a bid technically has to go 15 days, we received 4 quotes from construction companies that do this type of work. As you can see, there was varying prices. Ken Moore was the lowest, I would consider the best, and the fastest. Those are the 3 things that we took into consideration when awarding this contract. It wasn't just price, as you may know that they've started already. I took the liberty to ask them to start because of the severity of the situation, the holiday week. So if we waited till they you potentially passed it tonight, they wouldn't be able to start till tomorrow. They'd have 2 days and then a holiday. Our goal is, provided the weather works out in our favor, which if we could get a couple more days like today, the road will be open on Wednesday. So less than a week. Won't be complete, but the road would be open. I think they have till July 12th to put the guardrail and other things in. But provided we pass this tonight, they can have it essentially open Wednesday to road traffic, which would impact, help alleviate some of the impact to some of our businesses.
And this is also going to aid us in the future work we want to do on that as well, as far as the water, I hope.
Unfortunately, yes, this would have been part of the grant application to OPWC. So this would have been costs that we would have passed off into that program. Unfortunately, because it's outside of that, we're going to have to eat the cost. One thing I would also tell you is this is a permissive tax street. And a permissive tax is that $5 license plate fee that you pay, everybody that lives here pays, and it goes to the city, has to be allocated a special fund. So this won't be general fund money. We're going to use permissive tax money because and some of you, when we spoke last week, I was telling you that we had $200,000 allocated to Johnson Road, and that I envisioned that this would be about a $200,000 fix. Well, now it's not a $200,000 fix, and that $97,000 number is actually much less because we made some alterations to the plans. We're still going to have some money to do Johnson Road. So while we thought we didn't have any, we're going to still have some to do Johnson Road. So this is an emergency. I've never asked you to introduce something and pass it on the same night, but this is one of those circumstances that we just can't wait due to the severity of the issue.
It's also a truck route that we
Right.
didn't mention earlier as well.
I would agree with that, and unless anybody else has any questions or.
I have one. Along the lines of the license plate money, originally we had money from Medina Line Road. What has happened with that money?
That's actually at the county. The county keeps. So there's a certain amount of our license plate tax the county keeps.
Okay.
And there was about $400,000 there. Now we took $200,000 and did Hametown. And if you recall, that money I was going to use to do Johnson. We're still going to, what monies remain after this project, we're going to use to do Johnson. So all that money, there's still $200,000 at the county, and there's an increase. I want to say it's about $50,000 a year that goes into that fund in our name, 40 to 50,000. So that'll be there for next year when we do Medina Line.
So just to be clear, is Johnson Road being scaled back, or what's the repercussions? Or don't we know?
I won't know until the final project is complete, and I think we may have a little bit of money in the permissive tax fund that we could appropriate to finish the 200,000 that we wanted to do. I won't know until the project's finished.
Didn't the taxes for the gas rates go in effect today, and aren't we supposed to get $300,000 back? Or
We will get an additional $300,000 on top of our annual allocation. Mind you that while that increase started today, we won't see that till August. And so August to December, we'll see half essentially of that 300,000, roughly. I think really I'd say 123,000. Let's be conservative.
so if we had an issue with anything for Johnson Road, we could actually,
We could technically allocate that money. That was one of the conversations that Ron and I were going to have, but we haven't got there yet because I wanted to see where this went.
When's that collectible?
They're collecting it today. It
Right,
went up.
they're collecting it, but when would we actually
Well, our first
see?
allocation starts in August. So we get it every month. We get a monthly allocation. and
Okay.
It should be here. Starting in August, they'll increase our amount.
anyone else? In that case, I motion to add ordinance 88, 2019 to tonight's agenda, looking to waive the second and third readings, and it does include emergency language.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to add ordinance 88, 2019 to tonight's agenda for its first reading. Any further discussion? Would the clerk call the roll?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Consideration of minutes, the minutes of the regular council meeting of June 24th, 2019. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes? They will then be accepted as submitted. Reports from officers, boards, and commissions. Mayor Zita.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to at least announce tonight, though, that I know that there has been some issues with our trash hauler. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been experiencing some missed pickups, late pickups, and so forth. We've met with the owner of the trash hauling company last week. There's been some changes on his end with personnel and so forth and how things are getting handled. So hopefully moving forward, we hope that some of what we've experienced in the past will be alleviated.
And if residents still have an issue, who should they call?
Always start with the trash hauler. I know that that's not always productive, and then if you send us an email after you've contacted them, if when you contact them you get with whom you spoke, it's always important because then we can trace back some of the maybe not legitimate responses people get. So, and then we can forward those to the staff member that handles it for us.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Fowler.
There really is quite a few things going. Just wanted to make you aware that there were 4 homes in the city that are receiving notices of repair or demolition. One is on Easton Road, one on Maple, one on Helmick, and one on Reese. All of them are vacant. All of them are in disrepair. And at least one we know to be a house used for illicit activities. So we'll be trying to move those along quite rapidly through the process of removal. There are also ones that we have to cut grass on a regular basis. Just wanted to let you know that we finally closed on Union Street last week. Started the demolition process. First, just so you're aware, the first thing we have to do is do an evaluation for asbestos and other toxic issues. That contract has been let, and Cardinal will be performing those duties here this week. So once we get that report, we'll be able to start the demolition process.
Are we receiving grants for the demolitions?
No, we're at this point, no, but that doesn't mean that we can't try to get grant money. The land bank is not as efficient as we are. So we've kind of taken upon herself at this point to
Didn't
try
we
to
have-
alleviate some of
didn't
the
we have
hazards.
some?
We have one. We had one and we turned it back because we didn't need it. But there are opportunities there, but we will have a discussion with the land bank once we start that process.
What were those 4 roads again?
Easton,
Helmick, Reese?
Easton, Maple, Reese, and Helmick.
Yeah.
The one on Easton you can't see from the road. It's actually overgrown with the access drive is just overgrown. You can't even access it. You can actually access it from the backside. It's one we've had significant complaints on. So I just wanted to let you know we issued letters in case you get calls. While you were on break, or while you go on break, we're going to do 3 projects. We're going to issue for bid the walking trails, the Cleveland-Massillon sewer line from Greenwich down to Gardner, and then the Johnson Road. So when you come back from break, I'll have those ready for award. So the goal is end of August.
I hate to keep interrupting you, but I just happen to have a question come up on the Cleveland-Massillon Road sewers. And the residents there, they're not going to be made to tie in, correct?
That's correct.
And we are putting in the laterals, is that what they're called?
Yes.
For everybody?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And just so you know, we've had a couple people want to connect.
Right.
Problem is, I will not let them connect until the project's done. We identify that amount that we want to say. Typically, we've set a percentage that the people would pay. So I want to before we get to that, I have to, one, it has to be tested. It's not ready for connection, but we'll be coming back to council with an ordinance setting the fee schedule for that location. We are doing, just to make you aware, that the intern that we have in engineering is doing a culvert inventory. I know you probably think that's maybe a little bit late, but we had actually started having these discussions a couple weeks ago. But we're doing an assessment of the 66 plus culverts we have, for which we are responsible in the city. Just part of our future planning. The OPWC applications, the 3 applications you approved in February, will go in next week. And the Eastern road water line is ready for award. We have all our agreements in place. So thank you.
Great.
Mr. President, can I ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Karen.
On Easton Road, there's been an area of the road that was tried to be smoothed out, and I'm kind of asking where that stands. Got a couple very interested residents on both sides of the road where there was a drainage pipe remove, replace, and it makes a lot of noise as everyone day and night drives across that. Can you give me an idea of what's being done?
I will follow up with the service department and have him respond to your inquiry.
Thank you.
Mr. Messner?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Mr. Markey?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Introduction of new legislation. Oh, I'm sorry, public hearings. Are we at, yep, we're there. All right, let's move on to the public hearings. I now declare the public hearing convened on ordinance number 80, 2019. Ordinance number 80, 2019 is an ordinance authorizing the city to enter into the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC, and the execution and delivery of the agreement establishing NOPEC and approving the bylaws of NOPEC. Would the clerk please certify the legal notice was published on June 29th, 2019?
I so certify.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said ordinance? Please step forward, give your name and address to the stenographer.
Jim Milano, 5058 Grove Avenue in Norton. I'm kind of wondering, what is this thing? Is it something to do with aggregation, or I'm lost on this NOPCE, what Northeastern Agreement. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, fortunately, we have a representative here who's going to probably step up here at some point and answer some of those questions.
Okay.
How's that?
That's what I want to find out.
All
What
right.
is this? Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said ordinance? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. And for the final time, and I'm probably going to ask you to step up and give us a review, is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said ordinance? If you could just come forward and...
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be here, Council and Council President. I'm with NOPEC.
If you would, give your name and
Oh, sorry.
address for
Is
the
this on? Is it-
stenographer.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Close your mouth.
A little closer. Okay, is that better? I'm Brenda Fargo. I'm Membership Development Director for NOPEC. NOPEC is the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council. We are a nonprofit organization. We are a council of governments. That means that we are a subdivision, just like you. We are subject to the sunshine laws and all of the Ohio Revised Code restrictions that you as a municipality are under. We have over 200 members, and they are all communities spread throughout 16 counties in Ohio. We are in the business of providing energy aggregation programs to communities. We do that on natural gas and for electric. At this point, you're looking at joining for the natural gas program. Recently, Summit County joined for natural gas for all of the townships. So the surrounding townships are now in NOPEC for natural gas. Cuyahoga Falls has come on. There's a number of communities in Summit County as well as many of the counties surrounding you. Our goal is to provide you a stable, low price for your natural gas for this particular program. And we do that by the bulk purchasing power of over 200 communities. There's almost 600,000 gas customers that are under the NOPEC umbrella. So that really provides the suppliers to be very interested in getting that kind of a bulk of customers. But we're not also about the low price for the program. It's not just about the pricing. It's about the other things that come to you as a NOPEC member. I saw on your agenda that you have a PACE program that you're kind of going under for I believe it's residential, if I'm reading it correctly. NOPEC also provides PACE loans to small businesses and even to you folks as a municipality, and that's through the PACE program that NOPEC provides. We also provide grant dollars. We talked about grants earlier this evening. So there are grant dollars, a part of this program. We provide a Do Not Knock program if you're interested. That provides for residents to have a sticker on their door that says, "Don't knock on my door if you're trying to sell me something." And we work with the police departments to get that implemented, and then we provide that database for you to make sure that you know who's in the city going door to door. So there's a lot of things that NOPEC provides because we are a membership-driven organization, and our members are cities, townships, and counties. They will come to NOPEC and say, "We'd like to have whatever. We'd like to have a PACE program. We'd like to have a Do Not Knock program." And we try and be responsive to the needs of the community because it's run by community members. Every county that is a member of NOPEC has a board member, and that board member is a member of one of the NOPEC communities. Right now it's Mayor Molnar, who is Mayor of Macedonia. He is the NOPEC board representative for Summit County. So it's an all-inclusive organization, and it provides a lot of benefits, but it also provides a gas aggregation program, which you've had in place for a number of years. So this is just a change to the gas aggregation program as you've had it in the past. Question?
Thank you. Are there any questions? Mr. Lino, we had gas aggregation in place before, but it was with someone else. And what we found is that the administration did some research and found that they could get a better deal through NOPEC, and that the gas aggregation would be a better deal for the residents. And so that's why we're going with NOPEC as opposed to with who we had in the past.
Yeah, that's what I was going to make a comment about. I hope we got somebody that will negotiate something, for us, because I have these people calling. Now, this is the first time I ever paid attention to my bills because they're offering me all kind of deals, and I said, "Man, this is so much better than what we was getting through that." But boy, you got to watch them; they're slick.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I asked the one natural gas person. I hate to get into this now, but I says, "Well, if I have a problem with my gas, who do I call?" She said, "East Ohio Gas Company." And I said, "What about billing?" Well, she says, "Call East Ohio Gas Company." And I says, "Well, where's this gas coming from? From East Ohio Gas. And I says, then what in the world are we paying you for? I mean, and when I looked at my bill, it's not so much the price of the gas or the electric, it's East Ohio Gas and Ohio Edison. That's where the big bill's coming in, because somehow they got out of the business, and they're letting, instead of one person making a profit, they've got 13 people trying to make a profit. And to me, that's worse than ever. But all of this stuff, I don't know how they got into this in the first place, but that's neither here nor there. But I hope whoever we're negotiating with can do better than what these people are calling me.
Well, I can tell you, Mr. McGlone is the aggregation expert on council. So.
And the aggregate spend or percentage over the last 5 years with NOPEC has been lower than what we've been able to negotiate in-house, which was fairly decent, but NOPEC's even better.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I would like to, and I think there's probably people watching. Maybe,
yes. Yeah.
I would like to suggest that everybody look at your gas bill. There are a lot of people that have shopped with other suppliers other than your current electric or gas aggregation or electric on the same thing. And what happens is you will shop and you will find someone that has a great deal. And the deal's for 6 months. And then at the end of 6 months, you have to do something. And you have to contact them, or else you go on a month-to-month, and they charge you whatever they want. I've done public hearings like this where people have come with their bills, and they're paying 7 or 8 cents per MCF for gas, and they could be getting it at 3 or 4 cents. And that's because they're on these month-to-month. So you all have a homework assignment. Go home, look at your gas bill. If you're paying above 4 cents, you need to do something. So look at your bill, see who your supplier is, call them up, and if you're on a month-to-month, you need to do something about it. So that's whether you're in the aggregate or not. It doesn't matter, but I see it all the time. So
thank you.
I do have a question.
Mr. Tousley?
A personal experience that you have just brought up for me, and I don't know if this would be the city, the police department, or you. Just this month, my wife got my gas bill, and all of a sudden I have a different carrier than the city aggregate, and my rate went from 3-something to 11-something. Mm-hmm. Do you have something to protect me?
Well, what may happen, and I don't know because I don't see your bill.
Right.
You were with the city's program before?
Yes.
And you don't recall signing up with someone?
No, definitely not.
Okay. Then you might have gotten slammed, because that does happen. Slamming is called when you get enrolled without your permission. Did you happen to get a notification from the utility that said they were going to enroll you with someone else?
Not that I'm aware of.
It comes in an envelope that you're easily going to miss. What happens is the utility has to send you a letter that says, we're about to switch you to Joe's gas company, whatever. And then you will have 7 days to call them and cancel that enrollment. Fortunately, it's the summer and you're probably not using a lot of gas right now, so I would call and cancel whatever that is.
I believe my wife just called our carrier and they said they would take care of it from there. Yeah. But I guess my comment would be, look at your gas bill.
Yes. Because the problem is, if you're not in the aggregation program, so if you've shopped with Joe's Gas Company, when we do the opt-out, you're not going to get a letter, because we're not allowed to send opt-out letters to people who've already chosen another supplier. So you could be paying 11 cents every single month, and we can't help you because we can't reach you. So that's why I'm telling everybody right now, go home and look at your gas bill. And if you're paying a lot, either go back to the SCO, call the gas company and say, I want to go on standard choice offer, and you have to tell them that's what you want, or call the current supplier that you're with and say, wait a minute, what's this rate, and renegotiate with them.
I got one question. On the aggravation, which I think ours is ending like in November, if we're in another program and it's ending in like January, February, are we able to get into this?
Yes.
As soon as we're done with the, because the fees are, when you get out of these, they charge you a lot of fees.
Right, that's the problem. If you sign up with a contract on your own, a lot of times there's cancellation fees. There are no cancellation fees with NOPEC ever. So if Joe's Gas comes by and wants to sell you gas for 1 cent an MCF, you can go there and do whatever you want. What will happen if you have a contract that ends in January, February, whenever? You will naturally go back to the utility if you do not re-up with that supplier that you're currently with. You will go back to the utility. NOPEC does what we call refreshes. So every other month we go back to the utility and we get a new list, a list of people that are newly eligible. So you would be on that list. Okay. You would get an opt-out letter. You'd have the 21 days to opt out just like everybody else. Then you'd be put in the program.
Okay, sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
So just to be clear, it's an opt-out program so that you are enrolled unless you take some
Exactly.
action
Affirmative
not
action.
to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have one more. You mentioned grants. What kind of grants?
At the end of the year, you will be eligible for a grant in 2020. You will get $5 per enrolled customer. So I don't know what you've had historically in your gas program, but whatever that is, will be $5 per customer that will come to you as a part of the NOPEC program.
So we just get it, we can spend it however.
Well, it's a grant program, so we have some stipulations. We'd like you to use it on something that's energy related, but it's pretty broad. Our folks work with you to come up with a project that fits those types of things. So it's pretty broad. You can use it for just about anything. We just really don't want it to go for salaries or those kinds of things that are so transient. We want it to be for something that's kind of a capital type of a use.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay. Please step forward, give your name and address.
Judith Lindley, 3227 Creekside Drive, Norton. Am I understanding what you just said, that this is something that we will automatically be put into and then have a choice later to opt out if we want?
My understanding is that when whatever contract you're in now
Yes.
expires, then you go back to your supplier. You will receive a letter from NOPEC within 1 to 2 months.
Unless you're already in the aggregation program.
Okay.
No, if not.
Oh, you're not?
No. Okay.
If you're not in the aggregation program, or if you are in the aggregation program currently, you will get a letter before November, probably September. You'll get a letter from NOPEC that says, here's what the rate is, here's all the terms and conditions. If you don't want to be a part of this program, send in this card.
Okay.
And then you can opt out. If you don't opt out, you'll get a letter from utility, just like we talked about, that says we're going to switch you to this program, and you have another 7 days. So in essence, you have 2 opportunities.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
All right, you bet. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for the said ordinance? Please step forward, give your name and address to the stenographer. All right, is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said ordinance? Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said ordinance? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak against the ordinance? I now declare the public hearing closed. I now declare the public hearing convened on ordinance number 81, 2019. Ordinance number 81, 2019 is an ordinance authorizing entering a natural gas program agreement with the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council. Will the clerk please certify the legal notice was published on June 29th, 2019?
I so certify.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said ordinance? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. For the second time, is there anyone who wishes to speak for the said ordinance? For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak for the ordinance? Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the said ordinance? Please give your name and address to the stenographer. For the second time, is there anyone who wishes to speak against the ordinance? For the third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak against the ordinance? I now declare the public hearing closed. 2 public hearings. Okay. There's one today and one next week. Introduction of new legislation, resolution number 85, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I introduce ordinance 85, 2019 for its first reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
A resolution approving amendments to the Articles of Incorporation of the Akron Summit County Energy Special Improvement District Incorporated.
Just for the public's information, we have received the documents that we were asking about last week, so that you know that. And this is a first reading only.
Thank you. Ordinance number 86, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you. I introduce ordinance 86, 2019 for its first reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance approving the Akron Summit County Energy Special Improvement District Residential Program Plan, authorizing and approving the execution, delivery, and performance of a city residential PACE cooperative agreement with respect to property assessed clean energy transactions in cooperation with the Akron Summit County Energy Special Improvement District and the Toledo-Lucas County Port Authority, authorizing the Toledo-Lucas County Port Authority to approve petitions and plans for public improvements of public services submitted by the owners of real property within the city, requesting that their property be added to the territory of the Akron Summit County Energy Special Improvement District and assess for the cost of such plans on behalf of the council of the city and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mr. Lino, this is what you were asking about as far as the tax assessment and the interest rates, just so you're aware of that. And this is for a first reading only.
Thank you. Ordinance number 88, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I introduce ordinance 88, 2019 for its first reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to authorize the administrative officer to enter into a contract with Kenmore Construction from Akron, Ohio, for the emergency construction culvert on Worcester Road without competitive bidding in the amount not to exceed $97,053 and declaring an emergency.
Just for the public's information, this is what we discussed earlier during committee of the whole, so that we can get started on Worcester Road and get it fixed, hopefully before the holiday kicks in. At this time, I motion to waive the second and third readings on ordinance 88, 2019.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to waive the second and third readings on ordinance number 88, 2019. Is there any discussion regarding the waiver only? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
At this time, I motion to adopt ordinance 88, 2019.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 88, 2019. Is there further discussion?
Mr. President, I have one final question.
Yes, Mr. Towsley.
Is this culvert the same size, or is it being enlarged any?
So that was an engineering question, but it's no longer a box culvert. So it's going to be an oval, so the opening will be slightly larger.
Okay.
And it's essentially 4 feet high, 4.5 feet high, and 6 feet wide. So if you picture, it's hard to.
The bigger the better.
Yeah, yes, but it's
like a circle that was squished.
squished. Yeah,
Now it's oval.
it's an oval.
Okay.
And that's truly why the cost discrepancy between the two. A concrete box culvert has to be precast and is made with all concrete. These were precast tubes. They just ship the tubes in. They're putting them together. So that's why there's a significant price difference.
Is the life expectancy about the same?
Yes.
Or is it-
Yes.
Okay.
And they'll have cement all the way around them, like the culvert would.
It's a cement oval. All
Yeah.
Yep. All the way through, like a
They're
big
sealed-
pipe.
They're sealed in the joints.
If you hurry up and make it out there by tomorrow, or I'd say go tonight, you'll be able to see. It's sectioned together like the storm sewer pipe, but it's glued together with yeah. Yep.
It's almost identical
just
to the
if you
one
get out of
sitting
town.
down here at the center of town,
The oval ones.
almost the same size.
And I'd like to thank administration and Kenmore Construction for being able to react so quick to get this busy roadway back open.
Is there any further discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley? Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Ordinance number 70, 2019 falls to me. I offer ordinance number 70, 2019 for its fourth reading and ask the clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of waterline easement agreements for Eastern Road Waterline Extension Project and declaring an emergency.
I move to adopt ordinance number 70, 2019.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 70, 2019. Is there any further discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Ordinance number 71, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer ordinance 71, 2019 for its fourth reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance accepting the bid of HSH Construction and Excavating Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $589,720 for the Eastern Road Waterline Project and declaring an emergency.
I motion to adopt ordinance 71, 2019.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 71, 2019. Is there any further discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Amended ordinance number 72, 2019. Mr. McGlone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer amended ordinance number 72, 2019 for its fourth reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to amend or add?
It's really supposed to be add. I apologize for not being able to answer that last week. It should be add.
An ordinance to add section 240.09 of the codified ordinances of the city of Norton.
I offer to adopt amended ordinance number 75, 2019.
Second that.
That would be
I'm
72.
sorry, amended ordinance 72, 2019. Did I say 75?
You did.
I did. So what'd I do? Go back.
You're right.
You made the
Second.
motion. You're
I
fine.
changed it to 72. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't catch that, but I'll second 72.
There's a motion and a second to adopt amended ordinance number 72, 2019. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, this is to provide the maximum age limitation for the original appointment to a division of police shall be 40 years old.
Anything further? Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Amended ordinance number 75, 2019. I offer amended ordinance number 75, 2019 for its fourth reading and ask the clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to amend section 660.07 of the codified ordinances of the city of Norton, Ohio.
I move to adopt amended ordinance number 75, 2019.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt amended ordinance number 75, 2019. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President. I believe that this has the part removed about tied to the value of the vehicle,
That was, yeah,
just for the public's information.
that was the amendment that we agreed on last week, yes. Any further discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Ordinance number 76, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer ordinance 76, 2019 for its third reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the administrative officer to execute and deliver a contract with Rowmaster Corporation for cleaning services for city buildings.
A motion to adopt ordinance 76, 2019.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 76, 2019. Is there any further discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Ordinance number 77, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer ordinance 77, 2019 for its third reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of agreements with TCF Equipment Finance for the lease purchase of a Timco Model 600 street sweeper.
Thank you. I motion to adopt ordinance 77, 2019.
I'll second.
Motion is second to adopt ordinance number 77, 2019. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. Whipke?
When are we looking to get this in then, Mr. Fowler?
It'll be like January next year.
Okay.
It won't be. So it takes a little bit to build.
Right.
But just for an example, as we redo streets and improve curbs, we really need to maintain those curbs. And this will, one, help us to vacuum out, to suck out the catch basins, but also to keep those curbs free from debris, which then subsequently freeze and thaw and damage our roads. It will help us to maintain our roads as
And
well.
also damages those drains going underneath
Correct.
the road.
And they can use this as a vacuum for storm sewers that are plugged
Catch
backed
basin.
up.
Yep.
Catch basins.
Yep.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 77, 2019. Any further discussion? Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carratt?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Ordinance number 78, 2019. Ms. Whipke?
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer ordinance 78, 2019 for its third reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a 2019 Dodge Durango for the Division of Fire and Emergency Medical Services at a cost not to exceed $24,924.
I motion to adopt ordinance 78, 2019.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 78, 2019. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. Towesley?
I have quite a bit of confusion over this one. I went back and looked over the work session when this was spoken about, and I have Exhibit A on that. And the reason I went back is I thought I recalled the chief saying that the vehicle trade-in had like 75,000 miles on, which personally I was kind of concerned. I thought that was a low amount. But I'm looking at the Exhibit A, and it says that we're trading in a four-door sedan police Hemi all-wheel drive with 80,000.
My guess is they used the template from when they were doing a police quote from before.
Yeah. That's from the police. That's a police car. So we traded in the two police cars to get two Durangos.
Yeah.
Well, here's my further issue.
Right.
I went back and looked at the police car with 80,000, and our trade-in was 11,000. This trade-in 7,000. So there's a pretty big discrepancy.
It's a lot older years. The fire is a 2008. I think the police cars were a lot newer than that, as I recall. Weren't they like 2010, 11, 12, somewhere in there?
Do we just want to go and do this?
And we can kick it to a
next
fourth
week?
read. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not.
So there's a motion and a second. Do you wish to withdraw your second?
If we're going to roll this over to another reading, I'll withdraw my second.
Can I withdraw my motion to adopt, and we'll put this on the agenda for a fourth reading next week, and we'll get those answers?
Thank you.
All right.
Before we move on, Mr. Towesley, were there any other questions or just that one? I just want to make sure they get everything answered.
Right, that's all I saw.
Okay.
Could you send me an email on that, Paul? So, yeah, I've got it straight as what it is you're wanting.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Amended ordinance number 79, 2019. Mr. Towesley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe this is not amended anymore. Is that correct?
Well, it was amended, and then it was amended again, so I chose to call it amended because it's been amended 2 times. It's back to the original version, but we amended it twice.
All right, that's just what I want to make clear. This is
Yeah.
back to the original. So at that, I will make a motion to, or ask the clerk to read amended ordinance number 79, 2019 for its third reading.
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a memorandum of understanding with the City of Barberton to study the issue of forming a joint fire district.
And now I'd like to make a motion to adopt amended ordinance 79, 2019.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt amended ordinance number 79, 2019. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that going back to the way it was by request of Barberton, is that correct?
Both amendments were requested by Barberton. They were trying to clarify an issue, but the clarification created more problems essentially than it solved. So they said, let's just go back to the original version of it and just say it's a study and move forward.
Okay.
Mr. Pilot?
It is a study.
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah.
say it's a study. I mean, that's what it is. It is
Right.
a study. It's the
Yeah,
study.
we recognize there's sensitive labor issues that are involved when you're studying an issue like this, and the amendment was meant to address that, saying, about employment in a new district if it was to be formed, but that created additional issues, so it said, let's not talk about that. We all recognize there's sensitive issues, and we'll just go back to the original version.
I understand that this is just authorizing the administration to enter into an agreement with Barberton for a study. However, when we start playing with our safety forces, whether it's to save a little money or not, I cannot agree with that. For the longest time, Norton has fought and struggled to keep their fire department, to keep their police department, and to start playing around with that and looking at forming a joint fire division, to me, it's just a mistake. As a city, you need to stand on your own. I understand regionalism is big nowadays. If Barberton truly wants to do something, then let them enter into an agreement with us with sewers and help us get sewers throughout the city. It's going to increase their customer base. It's going to give them more money in the long run, and it's going to allow us to attract more business to the city of Norton. That's where the focus should be. To be looking at our safety forces, no, that's a mistake, and I cannot vote for that.
I don't know that it's ever a mistake to have more information. I don't know that you can make a decision about something like this without information. It's important to give our citizens the best service possible with fire and police and streets, and that's what we try to do all the time. And this is just a study. This doesn't mean that anybody has to do anything with it. And it may ultimately be that this is not the direction for Norton to go, and I certainly have my doubts that this would be the direction for Norton to go, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have the information so that we can make that decision with all of the facts instead of just saying no out of hand. Too many times in the past, Norton has said no out of hand to things, and we've regretted it. Now, again, I don't know that this is going to come. I think I said before that I'm kind of approaching this from the you better show me it's good, because I'm starting out assuming that it's not going to be the best thing for Norton. But I don't know how you can really go wrong with getting information. So
I would agree with our president. It's nothing that I would go out of my way to advocate for actually doing, but I do believe we need to get the information on it and find out how it would work. And trust me, everybody up here, including many citizens, as well as our administrative people and Mr. Markey, will be really looking at this before anything was ever moved forward on it to begin with. This is just for the study to look at it and see what could be there, if anything.
further discussion? All right, I have a motion and a second to adopt amended ordinance number 79, 2019. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Townsley?
Yes.
Second, Mr. McClone?
Yes. Did you say Mr. McGlone?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Did you second? I couldn't
No, I
quite hear.
didn't. That's why I was confused.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear
did
who
it.
seconded.
Mr. Gaynor did.
Oh, yes,
Oh, I'm
I'm sorry,
sorry.
I didn't hear what you said.
Sorry.
Okay. Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carrot?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
No.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Did you call Mr. Tousley?
At the
She
beginning.
did, okay.
He made the motion.
All right, thank you. That, what was that, passed 6-1?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. All right. Ordinance number 82, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer ordinance 82, 2019 for its third reading. Ask clerk to read, please.
An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a Kobelco SK80CS excavator for the Service Department at a cost not to exceed $51,154.
Thank you. I motion to adopt ordinance 82, 2019.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 82, 2019. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President. I'd just like to point out to the public that the current excavator we have now is starting to have many issues to where it's going to cost us quite a bit to keep it going. And at this time, we're getting actually looking to get $52,000 as a trade-in on the new product.
52.
52,000.
Thousand? This is only 51,000?
Yeah, it's 100 and some to begin with. So we're, the 51,000 is what we're actually going to be paying.
Further discussion? Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carrot?
Yes.
Mr. Tousley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Ordinance number 83, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
I offer ordinance 83, 2019 for its third reading and ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the purchase of a top hat excavator trailer for the Service Department at a cost not to exceed $15,554.
I motion to adopt ordinance 83, 2019.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 83, 2019. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. Whipke?
For the public's information, this is for a trailer to haul the excavator around on because the one we're acquiring is larger than what we currently have. And I do believe we're trading in our current trailer on this one as well to the tune of like $1,500.
Further discussion? Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carrot?
Yes.
Mr. Tousley?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes. Ordinance number 84, 2019. Mr. Gaynor.
Yes, I'd like to offer ordinance 84, 2019 for its third reading.
An
And ask the
ordinance
clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance rezoning of property described as permanent parcel numbers 46-00259 and 46-04166 in the city from a C-REC district to a mixed-use district.
Third reading only.
And then there'll be a public hearing on that next week. Ordinance number 80, 2019. Mr. Pelot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to offer ordinance 80, 2019 for its second reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the city to enter into the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC, and the execution and delivery of the agreement establishing NOPEC and approving the bylaws of NOPEC.
And that's second reading only, and we will have another public hearing on that next week, July 8th.
Thank you. Ordinance number 81, 2019. Mr. Pelot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to offer ordinance 81, 2019 for its second reading. Ask the clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing entering into a natural gas program agreement with the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council.
Again, second reading only, another public hearing on that next week.
Thank you. Ordinance number 87, 2019. Ms. Whipke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer ordinance 87, 2019 for its second reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Cementech Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $673,200 for the Cleveland Maslin Road Water and Sanitary Sewer Extension Project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Second reading only.
Thank you. Public service announcements. Mayor Zita.
I have no public service announcements this evening. Thank you very much.
All right. And then Mr. Pelot.
Just real quick, anything, no fireworks?
We had fireworks last Saturday.
All right,
at
but
Speedway.
they were just asking again on Facebook. None tomorrow night or Thursday night.
No, we'll be saving ours until probably Cider Festival
Well, no, we have fireworks
on July 23rd.
7th, July 27th, Saturday. Saturday, July 27th. There will be fireworks in Columbia Woods Park at approximately 10 p.m.
Great. All right, under new business, executive session. We will be adjourning to consider the purchase, transfer, or sale of property for public purposes as defined in ORC Section 121.22G2 and Section 3.122 of the Norton City Charter. I move to enter into executive session.
I'll second.
Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Mr. Curtin?
Yes?
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed you.
Executive session.
Executive session.
Mr. Gaynor?
Yes.
Mr. McClone?
Yes.
Mr. Carrot?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
I'd just like to remind everyone that the microphones will remain on, so if you don't want your conversations recorded, then you should probably step outside. Council will not be conducting any further legislative business when we return. I'd like to invite Mayor Zita, Mr. Fowler, Mr. Mester, and Mr. Markey. It's required by the legislation.
I've never seen
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't know why they do
That's the first time ever for me.
It's because of them, what do we consider, where they have to abide by the same rules, ORC.
Oh, that could be. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just telling you, I've never seen that done before.
That's the only
Public hearings for one ordinance.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I thought it was a public, there was a hearing, one for each.
It was, but
It
we're
is,
having
but we
another
had
one
the
next
first one
week. We had the first
tonight.
one tonight. We have another one next week.
Oh, I got you, yeah, right.
Oh, it's just one of the ordinance, the other ordinance.
Both of them tonight.
We do both of them twice.
We're still doing two, but
Okay. What's this fireworks, July 27th? What is it? That ain't Cider Festival.
I don't know why it is.
Well, you heard about it, huh?
There was rumblings going on about
July
it.
27th.
Let me check.
That's cute. Because Cider Festival was in September.
Right.
Maybe it's Scott Pelot Day.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Left Carrie here by herself.
I know, I locked the door just so I'd be safe. Because they're not here. Nobody's here.
The other one, you're gonna get her glass fixed.
Wood glass.
That one, the door.
Oh, I said,
120-degree glass.
this should be a NOPEC grant project.
That's been 120 degrees for 40 years.
That's right. That should be NOPEC.
Here we go. All right, and we're back from executive session. Oh, still waiting for Mr. McGlone.
That's all right. You're just
Never waited on me.
Come on, Brett.
No further business to come before council. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Burn.
We're adjourned.
Yeah, 200. Yes, thank you. Yeah, hey, Justin, let me know what you make out there.